Hey guys, Wrestling Throwdown here. I'm Haley and this is Joe, and we are going to talk about Raw last night. I'll be honest right now, wasn't a fan of Raw. There was only like one or two things that I actually enjoyed. I thought it was extremely boring. Um, it's just like, I don't know, the whole, like, I guess a lot of people are excited about the John Cena and Seth feud they're going to get, but I'm not even really in love with that, to tell you the truth. I had a feeling they were going to be the main event, but just the match itself, tables match, I'm not even crazy about. So the
Has
opening
never
segment wasn't that great, so I don't know. Joe, what are your thoughts on Raw?
Johnson's never really delivered in table matches, and we saw in this opening promo, which I thought was really. I didn't really have the sound on because I had a friend over and he was talking on the phone, so I couldn't really hear much of the opening promo. I heard the Mounts announcement. I know they were, egging on Seth to beg Cena to bring the Authority back, but I mean, you look at Cena's reputation in tables matches, not really his forte. I don't know if everyone remembers when Sheamus won his first WWE title, Jeremy Piven was involved. He was the guest host, the guy from Entourage, Jeremy Piven. And Cena ended up, just falling through the table, and that's how Sheamus won his first WWE title. I don't know. I mean, obviously this is a filler match. This isn't, I mean, there's nothing on the line for Seth, right? Briefcase.
No, I don't think so.
Worried about,
See, this is what I wanted. This is what me and my brother wanted. We wanted a ladder match for the briefcase, Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins. That's what I
yes.
wanted.
That should have been the match, but they got Dolph back in a program with Luke seemingly. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Feared that way too. I mean, that would have been a great way to culminate their feud. Let Seth, Dolph got his shine at Survivor Series. Seth could have got
Yeah, and let Seth have a clean victory without cheating. Just because he's heel, he doesn't mean he needs to cheat. I just hate
I mean,
that.
it was perfect time because the Authority's gone. So.
I mean, we know John Cena's gonna win, obviously, but still.
I wonder if Roman getting involved in that match because obviously Roman's pegged to come back soon. So maybe that could be a spot. I mean, the Slammies are next week. We could see Roman's return as early as next week on the Slammies, which should be a much more improved Raw. Clearly, they were saving the good stuff for next week. This week was flatter than soda that's been open for 20 hours.
The opening segment, I mean, the anonymous GM, which I heard too, they're going to be doing it for a while. I mean, I'm pretty damn sure it's the Authority this time. It's not Hornswoggle. Obviously they, announced, what was it, 2 years ago that it was Hornswoggle, or a year ago? I think it was only a year ago.
No one remembers that.
And John Cena obviously was all upset and everything, and pretty much he closed the computer and everything like that, and he pretty much was making a shot at Lesnar and saying that he only showed up once a year and everything like that. And then Seth came out, and there was so many boos that, because Seth was, saying that, oh, these people hate you, Xena, and everything like that. And, half of them were saying Xena sucks, and half of them were saying you sold out, and they just both started laughing. I thought that was funny. And Seth kind of goes into Survivor Series and says, how he pinned Xena and everything like that. I pinned your shoulders to the mat. And Xena goes, yeah, you're right, but Dolph Ziggler also beat you. And obviously that didn't go too well with Seth, and he said that he blamed Sting for that. And he asked who the GM was. He goes, could it be JBL? And everyone liked that. And then he said, could it be Batista? And he made a shot at Batista, and he says, who was already proven that he's terrible at acting and at wrestling. Yeah, did you hear that?
That part I missed. Wow! They're taking cheap
watch
shots.
it. It was hilarious. Seth was on fire. He seriously, I think he carried that whole segment. I mean, it wasn't even that good, but just that comment was just so funny. I mean, his status about it, too. Yeah, he goes, it could be Batista. He goes, the GM could be Batista, who's already been proven to be terrible at acting and wrestling, so GM might be the job for him. I just thought it was so funny.
I took these steps that. I even almost bought a T-shirt on Cyber Monday last night on Shop Zone of Batista, because I have been supporting him. You know what? They're just mad because Dave's not coming back. He's going to film a Bond movie, Guardians 2. He's going to be in an upcoming Avengers movie. I mean, Dave is going to be the most successful actor, wrestler, not named Mr. Johnson. telling you right now. So, like, anybody who says Dave can't act, first of all, watch Guardians and see how he's just awesome in that movie. And I didn't even think he was going to be that good. That movie proved me wrong. And, you know, his wrestling, look, he came back. I've talked about it in the past. He was the scapegoat for the Daniel Bryan botch. Even CM Punk talked about it on his podcast. I'm sure you touched upon this on your review, Haley. You know, how him and Dave were actually tight, and he was in the final meeting talking about how Dave should have been heel from the get-go, and Dave actually kind of
talked about that.
And, like, you know, it was just Dave being put in a bad spot. And, like, you know, now I wonder if they're going to put Dave in the CM Punk category, A, because he was talked about on that podcast, and B, because he's going to have so much success without the help of the WWE. Keep in mind, did the WWE even promote Guardians? I didn't see any really promotion for Guardians, not that it needed it. The one movie they didn't promote, every one of Rock's movies they promoted Hercules, which I heard sucked ass. So it was just interesting. But yeah, for Batista's name to get brought up, that's very interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it was really Seth taking a shot at him. I just think it was more like he was obviously trying to be a heel in the moment and everything like that.
I mean, when you think about it,
or something.
Seth really took the spot of Batista in the Evolution / Authority storyline, when you think about it.
Yeah. And then he, you know, they go into the begging thing, and he tells Xena to bring back the Authority, and Xena tells him to ask nicely, and then he tells him to get on his knee and everything like that. Before he does that, the anonymous Raw GM pretty much makes Seth versus Xena in a tables match at TLC. And I had a feeling John Cena was going to be involved in the main event somehow, and so was Seth. I didn't know that they were actually going to have a singles match. I thought maybe it was going to be like a tag team or something like that. But tables match, I think it would have been better with tables, ladders, and chairs. But obviously, Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose won. That's obviously going to be the match of the night, probably anyway. So
they need to rebound because their first match was kind of underwhelming, and for two guys who have a lot of ability, I was surprised by that. It seemed like they were just building that match to this match. So I do expect that it's the one TLC match on the show. It is the TLC pay-per-view. I expect that to steal the show like Seth and Dean did at the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view.
Yeah. And I have noticed that Seth's been in the past, 3 or 4 main events. So he's getting in the main event picture. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And obviously, Xena looks like he's all pissed off because they made a stipulation says if Xena loses, he's no longer the #1 contender. And that's what me and my brother were kind of talking about. Like, well, then shouldn't it be like the winner should be the new #1 contender? I'm like, yeah, I think that's true too. But it's just like there's really, I guess, no point because Seth has the briefcase. So
he's always the #1 contender until he cashes in, or a #1 contender. So yeah. Again, they're just trying to make us have sympathy for Cena, put something on the line so he can look like the big hero, and have a big win going into the Brock Lesnar match. That's the only reason.
And Seth attacks Xena, and pretty much all chaos comes out. They grab a table, and just all of Team Xena and all of Team Authority just come out. And I thought this was interesting. Seth is obviously, they imitate the Shield powerbomb. I don't know if you've seen this since you were kind of not watching the first segment, but they imitated the Shield powerbomb, obviously with Seth in the middle instead of Roman, and then Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble on the other side, and they powerbombed Xena right through the table.
Gotta love how J&J Securities continued to find a home on WWE television. You know what? Good for them. They deserve it. Joey Mercury's a good guy. And nothing against Jamie Noble either. So good to see they're on television still.
Yeah. And refs acted like, they were hurt and everything, and they started helping up Team Xena. And that was pretty much it. Like I said, I really didn't think this segment was that great. All you heard was the GM just keep buzzing in, and I mean the whole just Seth and Xena just talking about Survivor Series and how it went down with Authority. That's pretty much all it was. Wasn't anything special.
No,
And they made
exactly.
their main event match. I guess that was pretty much the main point of that segment was they made the main event for the TLC.
It was your regular run-of-the-mill opening promo, and it's like it's so formulaic now with these opening promos. Austin actually touched on this with Vince McMahon as well, and he had interesting responses to it because Austin pretty much called it like he saw it. Hey, like these opening promos every week, these 3-hour Raws, it becomes a bit redundant. And Vince is like, well, we gotta set up the storylines to have the guys fight. They don't want to fight for no reason. So at least he had an answer. I could understand from a promoter what he's saying. But once in a while, give us a 5-star match to open up Raw. What was it? Jericho and Wyatt opened up Raw a couple months ago, didn't they? The cage match, and they opened it up.
Yeah, they had a good tag team match too. I think with the Usos, and I think they had a really good opening match before too. So I think once in a while, I mean, I understand opening segments, but I think once in a while, even if it's just once a month, they need to put a match for the opening.
Something that make wrestling fans on the channel and lead off with some good wrestling. I mean, you can still do your promos and set up your feuds, but you don't have to have opening promos to start shows. I mean, start hot, get a good match going, throw in a guy like Ziggler or whatever, and give us something good to start off with. Don't just give us a heel promo, authority/heel promos every week. Cena, it's the same old stuff.
They do that to make their main event, and it's just I think I'd rather have the main event at first, and then have the promo at the end once in a while. I think it would be interesting and different.
That's how they kind of used to do it, when they would have those Austin McMahon era. I mean, speaking of Austin McMahon, a lot of times it would be promo-type segments with Austin coming out with the beer trucks and everything that would end Raw. And it's something that's missing now, that unpredictable factor. When it's too predictable, I mean, granted, sometimes predictable storylines, it's going to happen, like Roman Reigns beating Brock Lesnar. It's predictable, but I got no problem with that. Someone's got to beat him. But in terms of, just the overall structure of the shows and how predictable they are, and even, the predictability of you got the same set every show for Raw, SmackDown, Main Event, every show except for WrestleMania. And I'm not counting NXT because obviously that's a little different. But it all becomes it's all the same. It's no different.
Yeah. And Randy Orton too. I'm sure he's gonna play a part of this probably at TLC because they said that rumors are that in starting of January that Seth and Randy are gonna start their feud. So.
Maybe it'll be
the John Cena and Seth thing is going to be nice and short because I don't want to see that for 3 months.
No, that's a TV feud to get to the Brock Lesnar match.
Yeah. And hopefully Brock is going to defend it at Royal Rumble. I would think he would be, but...
I expect him to be at Raw next week for the Slammies. I don't know
I do hear rumors about that, too. Yeah.
I've heard that for a while. I expect him to be there next week and start planting the seeds for Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Tag team turmoil match. This was for the new #1 contenders for the tag team title.
This
was interesting, except for the ending with the Bunny and Adam Rose. They needed it. What about Slater Gator? What about
New Day?
I would have rather threw in Las Minadores before these two guys. I mean, seriously.
You got New Day, even Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. I thought.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting.
Cesaro's another topic that Vince touches on. Very interesting.
Yeah, heard about that too. Yeah, which I thought it was interesting what he said about him too.
See, it's like he doesn't.
He's not. He needs he's a really good in-ring performer, but he needs more charisma or something like that. He said something he's good, but he needs to up the bar or something like that. I don't know exactly what he said, but I was just that's the stupidest thing because the people were behind him at first, and then you guys, didn't do anything with him, and now, the fans are kind of a little bit now with him, and so now you're saying, oh yeah, he needs to up the bar, but it's just he was fine before, and you guys should have done something, and you didn't.
And Steve Austin, like I said, I got to give my boy a lot of credit. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Hall of Famer. this was his best interview he's ever done. Cut right, no bullshit, no fluff. His first question was about the network in England and all that. He was pulling no punches. And with the Cesaro, he laid out the same scenario you did, with how he was gaining momentum with the Real Americans, and people expected a singles babyface push. Then he turned him heel out of nowhere with Heyman, and he fell back to the Pac. And yeah, that was Vince's response. And it's like, does he even watch some of his own stuff? Because if you watch the JBL show on YouTube, Cesaro's actually been taking more of a role on that show, and we've even seen it in backstage vignettes, being snarky. And I actually think him tagging, to tie it all in, him tagging with Tyson Kidd could be good, because Tyson Kidd's a guy who is also labeled as a no charisma guy, great worker but no charisma. I think Tyson Kidd, with his new gimmick he found in NXT, has really found himself, and notice he's back on the main roster now, getting tag team title shots, intercontinental title shots. Like, he's back in the mix. So you gotta give Tyson Kidd a lot of credit for working hard. I don't think this bodes well for Justin Gabriel. I'll tell you that much right now. But I do feel like they could be an interesting tag team. I was disappointed that them and New Day were eliminated so early. New Day starting off the match. Haley, what are your thoughts on New Day?
Okay, this is obviously what I was going to talk about, too. This was pretty much my whole thing with this whole thing. New Day, it seems like they're faces right now. They made their debut on SmackDown and everything. They're obviously faces and everything like that. I think the whole point of the Stardust attacking them, after the match and eliminating them, I think the whole point of this was for them to eventually, maybe in the next few weeks, them obviously, maybe Stardust and Goldust trying to get in their head, and then them not being able to take anymore, and then them eventually turning heel, not taking any more shit, and then obviously then go for the tag team. Because I feel like if they win the tag team titles, or fight for them, when they're faces, I feel like that's not going to do anything for them. I would rather them fight for them when they're heels. So I think what they did was fine. I was, completely fine with them being eliminated. I would have rather seen, the Usos anyways, because obviously, as we've seen, the Usos and Miz and Mizdow, they actually have a feud going on with Naomi, and I think it's great.
The one storyline set up that I was really feeling on Raw that I thought really had a lot of potential. Again, another good storyline launched from this Mizdow thing. This is just the gift that keeps on giving. I actually just ordered my Damien Mizdow stunt double shirt. Thank you very much. But, I felt like, as far as them getting eliminated, it's a turmoil match. People got to lose, whatever. But, in terms of, the presentation, something seems like it's missing. I enjoy what they're doing in the ring. They've adapted some new tag team moves. Kofi launching himself off Big E on SmackDown. They did that combination with the big ending with Xavier Woods going off the ropes. So I thought from an in-ring standpoint, it's not bad. But it's like, I feel like they don't have an identity right now. Like with the vignettes, they were this soulful, with the orchestra. And I was thinking, I think a lot of us maybe expected the orchestra was going to come out with them. But with the Rosebuds, probably higher up thought better of having another stable with a bunch of random people coming out. So I could see how that maybe got nixed. And also with them being heel and maybe militant and maybe, standing up for the racial cause and whatnot, which we originally thought may be the theme with this. I wonder if they're trying to just make it fun for now because of what's going on from a serious standpoint in Ferguson, Missouri, and all the riots throughout the country. I wonder if they're trying to lean on the side of caution. They've already got in trouble with Rusev and some of the stupid promos they've done. I wonder if they're really erring on the side of caution in terms of almost watering these guys down before they even had a chance to establish an identity, which is a shame. These three guys need it, especially Kofi Kingston. And I know you're not really a fan of Kofi, but this guy, he is, not to say it in a derogatory way, but he is like the Black Dolph Ziggler when you think about it. They're both great workers. They both get sniff the top a little bit. Obviously, Ziggler's been booked stronger, and that's because WWE's booked him stronger. But, that hasn't always been the case, and Dolph has had to fight just to keep the spot he has. So, for Kofi, I think it has potential. I think it needs more. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some changes with it. Eventually, I do see a heel turn. The story you laid out with the Stardust Goldust, that could work. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and someone had thrown out the idea of, why not have Ron Killings be the original leader? And he could be the original talk piece for like a few, as they establish themselves for a few weeks. He'd be the veteran, giving these three guys the rub, kind of. If you want to call R-Truth like giving someone a rub.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't have minded if they were, a 4-person group, but it seems like 3 is the magic number. It really does.
Think about it. Three's a good number. 3 and used to be the magic number with factions, but now it does seem to be 3, especially with the Wyatts, the Shield, Evolutions, recent incarnation. It seems like a good.
And the Wyatt are not the Wyatt, the Shield. Seth talks about this in his interview. He said that they were originally going to have 4 guys. Like, they were originally, I guess, supposed to have Big E with it, but then they were like, no, we're going to have... And this was a good thing, too, because I don't think Big E wouldn't have matched with that. Like, I was glad that they gave, Big E with Dolph Ziggler and AJ. I thought that was perfect. And then, obviously, they kept Dean, Seth, and Roman separate.
Seth was kind of funny about that, talking about how Big E would have sweat like crazy in the suits. I thought it was interesting because if you listen to the CM Punk podcast, CM Punk took credit for the goddamn Shield. Did you hear that? Was I the only one who was kind of offended by that? Like, I appreciate what Punk did, and I agreed with a lot of his points, but that one, I mean, look, like, originally it did seem like it was going to be his group, and I could see, like, yeah, him pitching, all right, there's going to be 3 guys. Well, I like Ambrose, I like Rollins, and give me Chris Hero because that's my boy. And they nixed Chris Hero and they added Roman. He was like, all right, whatever, that's your guy.
Yeah, and it seems like he took a little bit of a shot at Roman. I'm not really sure how he feels about Roman. He didn't really touch on that, but he goes, oh, yeah, I see you guys want your pretty boy in there. And I thought that was actually funny, but because I don't really like Roman, but...
A stable of 3 workers like that. I mean, I thought that worked because it almost would have been too many good wrestlers if there is such a thing with Chris Hero, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. The fact that, I mean, Roman, it was a blessing for Roman because he was able to learn from 2 great wrestlers for 2 years. So, like, I think that was the best case scenario. You get a guy who had the look and the image of a star and 2 guys who knew how to wrestle like stars, and you put them together, and it worked. But anyway, I mean, I'm kind of all across the board, but I mean, I was a little that CM Punk kind of had the audacity to take credit for the Shield. They obviously initially were kind of connected to him, but once they started getting over and having kick-ass matches, they were a separate entity. And they did fine for the better part of 2 years as a separate entity. So there's no reason for Punk to... I mean, I can understand him saying it to be like, oh, well, I had some input originally. But he straight up took credit for it. I was a little miffed. But anyway, going back to New Day, they could have had Ron be the leader, and then they could have turned on Ron like a month or 2 in, and then they could have been heel after that, and then Xavier could have been the talk piece picking up, for after they turned on Ron. So that's just my thoughts on that. Maybe that would have helped. I mean, I'm still rooting for these guys. I don't like the presentation so far, but I'm still rooting for these guys. Like, I really hope they can have some level of success, and it just seems like there's a lot of elements not in their favor, including the Ferguson, Missouri situation. But as you said, the Usos end up winning Tag Team Turmoil, and we did get some good stuff out of that.
Yeah, the Usos ended up winning, and then Naomi was watching backstage, and Miz comes up to her, and I thought, he was going to start shit with her. I was just like, oh, here he comes. He actually started flirting with her, and he was just like, oh, your twerking is amazing and everything like that. And she seemed to like it. She smiled and everything like that. She took it as a compliment. And he gave her his card, and then Damien Sandow acted like he had a card. It was pretty funny. But he said that she had talent and everything, and give him a call and everything like that. And he says he's got like a producer in Hollywood that is interested in her, would be interested in her. And so obviously, I wonder if this is kind of like, I know in the first season of Total Divas, where Naomi was supposed to be in a love storyline, and obviously Jimmy didn't like that and everything like that. Maybe they had a little bit of talk and said, well, how about if she's in like a kind of a flirtatious thing with a guy you're feuding with, but obviously we can still kind of, obviously everyone knows you're married now, we can still kind of add that in and everything like that. Because not a lot of people knew they were engaged, obviously, the first season and everything like that. So,
yeah,
on the show,
I think this is going to be really good for Naomi. This I'm not trying to draw comparisons, but this could be the big break she needs, a la AJ Lee a couple years ago when she started getting put together with Bryan and then Punk, and then that whole carousel, which helped her really gain momentum. I don't know if she turns heel on her husband. There's certainly a few different ways they could go about this. But either way, I don't think they'll do that. But, I mean, the emotion that you saw Jimmy Uso or Jay Uso or John Fatu, whoever, I get confused which one's which. But
it's Jimmy, but it's his real name's John, yeah.
I know his real name is John. But to me, I think this is good, and the Usos were getting kind of boring. I mentioned it earlier. They've never really been in a feud necessarily. I mean, they've been in feuds, but not like a true storyline. They had the feud with the Wyatts, feud with Goldust and Stardust, but not like a true, like, well-designed storyline, planting the seeds of why there would be heat there. And, with Naomi, again, she was also the one who got voted to be AJ Lee's partner on the app vote. You wonder if they're maybe trying to get the machine behind Naomi again, which this time last year, it seemed like they were getting behind Naomi before she had that very horrendous eye injury at the hands of Aksan.
I actually think she is the next person to beat Nikki. I think she is perfect. Because obviously I'm getting sick of AJ. I think everyone should be getting sick of AJ having the title. And Paige, even Paige, she's already had it twice. I'm kind of getting worried about Paige. We have not seen her.
She hasn't been on Raw 2 weeks in a row, Haley. She hasn't been on Raw 2 weeks in a row.
I know. I'm getting scared. I don't know why they're doing that. It's just like they always have to have and that's what's so funny too. Like even though AJ Lee probably won't be the Divas champion, they'll still have all the spotlight on her. And that is why I don't like her. And everyone's just like, oh, why don't you like her character and everything? It's like they push her way too much on us, and it drives me insane. It's just like, no matter if she's the Divas champion, it doesn't matter if she's with, the world champion or whatever. It's always like she's at the center of fucking attention, and it's just...
And not only do they push her on us, Haley, but they've kind of stripped all the coolness out of her. The edginess, the kind of pipe bomb promos, the only reason why she's over may be the fact that she's married to CM Punk now. Like, I don't even know if she's over anymore. Like, her match she had last week when she did her hot comeback and she hit the Luthez press, like, it was crickets. So, and then I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you watched SmackDown, but they had a Nikki Bella promo on SmackDown kind of responding to AJ Lee saying talent isn't sexually transmitted, the previous Raw. And Nikki's promo got heavily edited, which upset me. I actually heard the transcript or read the transcript, and I wish they had aired this promo. Like, it was probably Nikki Bella's best promo, and I thought she had some good points about AJ Lee kind of being this bitter New Jersey girl that has to keep rubbing in all of our faces how hard she's worked. Like, I was actually that was the first Bella promo in a long time. I was actually kind of like digging, like, all right, Nikki, like, you're making some...
I'm starting to feel Nikki. She really is good on the mic. She really is. She puts her real emotions in there, and as much as I like Brie can't act, and obviously Nikki, that's why Nikki is like their mic person right now, and so that's why Nikki's I like Nikki better.
And they've killed off the whole storyline with Brie and Nikki. Now she's just kind of helping her sister, and I don't know if there's going to be ever any kind of comeuppance, but they haven't even referenced the storyline of her being a servant anymore. She's just kind of helping out her sister, wrestling AJ in matches, seemingly kind of being a tweener, like kind of being facey, but being happy for her sister too. Like she's kind of come around a little bit.
Yeah, on the WWE app, they kind of touched on it too.
Really?
They did an interview and stuff, and Brie said that she's not going to forget what Nikki did to her, but she's going to forgive because she says family is stronger, than anything, And so Brie and Nikki hugged her and everything like that, and I think she even apologized for something like that. I don't know, but yeah. So it seems like they're fine now. I mean, I was kind of like, maybe Brie is gonna turn on her eventually and try and get the title, but I don't think so. I think they're fine, and I think this could work. I really do, and I'm glad they're together again because it's just the Bella feud was pointless. It was stupid. It's better that they're both heels and they're both together now. So I'm glad they're together. I think it's better that they're together. So I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely. What were you just saying? I'm sorry, I got booted out.
What did I say? I
I have
said
a
pretty
point,
much
Noah.
like Nikki I think apologized to her or something like that, and Bree said she forgave her and everything like that, and so Nikki, and it seems too like Nikki's treating Bree a lot better. Like I know the first week she was kind of like pushing her and she was like, okay, give me my room, but it seems like Nikki's helping her win matches and everything like that, and they're hugging more. So it seems like they're like she's not treating her like a slave anymore. It seems like they're like more equals almost now.
Yeah, she was cheering her on when she wrestled Kayla. Come on, Bree mode, Hulk up. And, like, it almost reminds me, this is what I was going to say. It reminds me of when they did the Hardy Boy feud right before Jeff left. I don't know if you remember this. It was WrestleMania 25. They
Hmm.
did the big where Matt screwed Jeff out of the title when Jeff had finally won the WWE title from Edge, and then he dropped it, I think, to Orton on Royal Rumble with Matt screwed him out of the title. And they did this whole big thing, and they blew up Jeff Hardy with his Titan truck, with his with his pyro, and Jeff Hardy legitimately had a house fire where his dog died. And it was very traumatic. It was a very real life situation, and they tried to say that Matt set his house on fire. Like they really,
Yeah, I
like,
remember that. That was so stupid.
And then I actually watched the match in Providence, the blow off match, the I Quit match. I think it was at Backlash where Jeff did the leap of faith off the ladder through the table where Matt was all like tied up on, and he quit as Jeff was about to hit the leap of faith off the ladder. But then, like a month later, they squashed it, and that's when Jeff was heating up to feud with CM Punk when Punk started getting his ascension, and Matt was like back on Jeff's side, like, all right, like I tried to kill you, but I guess we're okay now.
Yeah,
Like,
they just do the stupidest stuff. I don't even know.
yeah.
And I guess their point of that is his family always gets back together. That's kind of like their thing, and they'll forgive. Like family blood, I guess, is stronger than anything. That's what
But,
Bree said, anyways, in the app. But
I
yeah,
mean, at least with certain family feuds like Eddie and Chavo and like others, it took them a while to get back together. Or like Owen and Bret Hart, they did the whole year-long feud, and then they got back together for the '90s Hart Foundation. So like, at least they played those out. Where these feuds now, it's like they go on a month or two, and then they're like back to being family, and they're eating Thanksgiving together, and unbelievable. The
it
Cave
was.
Match is a
I think it
freaking
was really just to turn them both heel again, and they probably didn't want to turn them both heel right away because Brie was obviously with Daniel Bryan, who is like a super face right now, and the crowd is so into him and everything. So that's why it's kind of interesting how that's going to play out. And it's funny too because John Cena's even though he's a face and Nikki's a heel, he's still talking good about her on Twitter. Like he talked about the promo too, being edited, and he was just like, he's like, I really wish they would have showed the whole thing, but I'm so proud of Nikki Bella for
wow.
talking from the heart and everything like that. That's what he said, and I was just
Interesting
like,
that
wow.
interesting that the poster boy commented about WWE editing something. Wow. Um,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up turning heel out of this. He's got this little caveat to bring the authority back. And now Nikki Bella is gaining traction as a heel. So I wouldn't be shocked there. And one more thing on Brie Bella, I feel like they did want her to be a top babyface. With the whole match with Stephanie and the build-up, and obviously piggybacking off her husband's popularity as well, they thought she could be like the next Lita. I really do think that. But they found out she has no charisma. I mean, you want to talk about Cesaro having no charisma? Brie Bella has no charisma. Decent worker, no charisma whatsoever.
Yeah,
So,
she's just not good on the mic, and I like her and everything. I'm not trying to.
yeah.
But Nikki definitely is the better talker out of them, and like I said, and Brie I think is better in the ring.
So I think they just made a choice, like, all right, let's just have Brie be heel. People aren't taking to her. Stephanie's off TV, like, so there's no reason for her to be babyface anymore. She's
Yeah.
feuding with the anyway, helping Nikki out. Like, might as well just reunite the Bellas and
And I
you
thought
know.
that was good on their part. They probably were just like, no one's really into this, and it's just pointless and everything like that. And Daniel Bryan's not here anyway, so it's just like there's really no point of making Brie stay face. And I think that's better
I
anyways.
can
The fellas need to be
that,
together anyways.
when he comes back, it's gonna be interesting if they tap into that when he comes back.
Yeah, definitely. Big Show versus Eric Rowan. I really like Eric Rowan. I'm feeling him a lot.
I got a good
Um,
Eric Rowan story for you after you're done, by the
I
way.
definitely think he's going to be a good mid-carder. I mean, I know he's old. I think he's like 42, 43, but I'm really feeling him a lot. He seriously, he can move. Now that he's a singles guy, you see him using his legs and everything and doing like these really cool moves with his legs and everything. Yeah, these really cool kicks and everything. But I really like him. He's really good for a big guy.
What do Eric Rowan and The Miz have in common? Good question for you.
Um, I have no idea.
They are both former reality stars, believe it or not. Eric Rowan, who is of Norwegian descent, real name is Joe Rudd, R-U-D-D, was the star, or was on a reality show in Norway. It was like apparently very popular. It was a couple years old. You know, it was before he got signed, obviously. But he looks the same. The beard's a little shorter, but you know, he's younger. But it's still him, obviously. I saw still pictures of it. I'm sure it's on YouTube. And I was gonna actually post a link to on the Wrestling Throwdown crew page to the link. I may still do it just so you can hear the audio. And
Yeah, I definitely want to see it. It's funny too because they were talking about, I don't know if this is cute, like his IQ's really high and everything like that. And I wonder if like he did a whole bunch of stuff, like maybe he was really smart, he went to school and everything, and that's why maybe he just was like, oh, you know what, maybe I'll be a wrestler. Maybe they just kind of went to him and said, hey, you know, we like you and everything like that. Are you interested? Kind of like the whole Alicia Fox thing. She was a model. They seen her and they gave her a job. And
or even
you know, he's older. He's 43, so maybe they were just like, you know, and he's making it work. I mean, obviously he's not going to go extremely far, but I think he'll be a good mid-carder. I think he can win a few titles.
even Sheamus has a similar story. How he was a bodyguard and a stuntman, and he was Triple H's workout buddy, and that's how he got into WWE. It's funny. I don't think anyone would have predicted this 8 months ago or 2 years ago. But who would you rather see in a match right now or entertain you, Eric Rowan or Sheamus?
Eric Rowan, I really like him. And I mean, I didn't really hate him or like him when he was in the Wyatt family. I didn't really have an opinion on him. And since he kind of got put on singles and then he kind of, you know, and then they kind of, you know, gave him his little baby face turn and everything. And I seen more of him in the ring being singles. That's what really got me, like how he moves as a big guy. Because not many big guys, you know, can, you know, do all these kicks and everything. And I was just like, he's definitely got potential. And I
One
think
thing
underestimated him. I know me and you were kind of like, he's the weak one in the white. And yeah, that still might be true, but I don't think he's that far behind. I really don't. I think he's going to be definitely a good, decent mid-carder.
I will take two things back that I said about Eric Rowan. He's better than the Warlord, and he's better than Festus. Those were two concerns that he was the next Warlord or the next Festus. And I do think he's gaining more traction than that. So, I mean, hey, he's making it work. Got to give Eric Rowan a lot of credit. I mean, like, I didn't think this would work, but it is working so far. And one last thing about the age factor. You know, he's in his early 40s, you mentioned, and obviously he was signed probably in his late 30s. Actually, if you go on Steve Austin's podcast last week, he interviews Bray Wyatt and talks about how the Wyatt family got together and how he helped create the sheet mask gimmick and everything. Interesting stuff. But, you know, to me, what was I saying? I'm sorry.
But yeah, I'm really feeling him, and especially with Big Show too. I like how he doesn't talk that much because he's not like the strongest talker in the world, and he'll get better, you know, once he actually, you know, and he just the whole thing is he doesn't like bullies, and that's, you know, why he's feuding with Big Show and everything. And this match ended in a no contest and everything. Obviously, they're going to fight at TLC and everything. But Big Show's obviously finally turned full heel. He says, I am a bully, and he's talking about how the fans sold out on him, and he just cares about hurting people now. Kind of like a Mark Henry thing.
Go retire, Big Show, please. Here's my thing. With Eric Rowan getting signed in his late 30s and how having success, I wonder if this gift gives guys like AJ Styles, like Jay Lethal. Here's a name I haven't brought up really before, but another one I would put in that category. Guys in their mid to late 30s, you know, Austin Aries, another one. Guys in their mid to late 30s who I think still are great wrestlers and could be great stars even going to NXT would be a step up for some of these guys, getting to work with Kenta and Steen and Devitt and the guys that are there now. I wonder if, because I feel like that's the only reason why they haven't signed AJ Styles is because he's 37 years old. And the fact that he was TNA's biggest star, because they don't like TNA guys.
I mean, they signed Eric Rowan, and he was probably maybe 40, 41, so...
And what kind of hype did he have? I don't know if he worked indies or not in like Europe or whatever, but like obviously he was on TV and stuff like that, so he had star power that way. But like it's not like guys like Jay Lethal, AJ Styles, they've been around forever, and they certainly could have something to offer. I'd rather watch AJ Styles and Jay Lethal than Adam Rose and the Bunny, and then Mark Henry or Kane.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys just need to go.
Yep.
And it's funny because, Eric Rowan isn't far off from him, but I think he's definitely way better. He's fresher and everything like that, so he can definitely do a few years. And, I mean, I know his thing isn't probably going to be extremely long. I know his, WWE career, but I'd say he can get at least 4 years out of his WWE career.
Yeah, I mean,
he's injured.
He had a decent run. If a guy like R-Truth is still employed to this day, I mean, he's got a shot at having a decent run.
Yeah. Fandango versus Jack Swagger, and this match never happened. They obviously said that Fandango was the winner because he didn't show up, and backstage Zeb was hurt and everything like that. And obviously, it's safe to say that Fandango is a heel. He was laughing. And the way Rose is acting, she's a heel too, so it's safe to say that they're heels now. We were kind of obviously trying to decide that, but obviously we can say he's a heel now. And Rusev comes out and he talks about how he won the Battle Royal on SmackDown. And this is what was funny too. We were talking about this last Raw and everything like that, and we're like, oh, why didn't he have the Battle Royal and everything? Obviously they had it on SmackDown and he ended up winning. And Jack Swagger almost won too, and
I saw that. That was a good match.
So obviously, and with this whole thing, he admits to attacking Zeb, and Swagger comes out and attacks Rusev, and Swagger does a good job. So obviously, Rusev and Swagger, I have a feeling that they are going to do the right thing and have Swagger beat him for the U.S. title. And this is a smart decision. Everyone, even if people don't like Jack Swagger, they have to admit that they'd rather see this than John Cena. Obviously. And, I mean, who else is better for the job? I mean, Swagger, he's got that whole real American gimmick and everything like that. And, he's a former world champion. He's strongly built. He's got a good physique, and he's good in the ring. So it's just like, why not, I think he's like the perfect guy.
He certainly has the most storyline invested, and he would get a big payoff from it, obviously. It would help his career. I'm still going with Ryback. I think that they're going to keep the U.S. title on on Rusev until WrestleMania, and I think they're going to try to save Ryback's career by having him go over at Mania and having essentially Ryback's on this tour of righting his wrongs, So I think they're going to continue with that, and then eventually have the big guy lock up at Rusev, and I think he could be a believable. He seems like an all-American kind of guy too. When you he's not, Jack Swagger, the real American, that's his gimmick. But, I could picture Ryback in that role.
I think Jack Swagger needs it way more. I think Ryback can get over way more, because Ryback's already in the main event picture anyway still. And Jack Swagger, he was supposed to be, and then they kind of wrote him off. And so I think Swagger needs this, but we'll see.
Indeed.
Mizdow versus Fernando, and he wins pretty fast, and then Jimmy Uso comes out, and he slaps Miz so hard, it was so believable and so good, and he tells him to stay the hell away from his wife.
It looked like...
And even Jay came out, Jay Uso, I noticed, and he was just like, what are you doing? He's like, you need to calm down and everything like that. And Jimmy, he made it look, me and my brother were just like, wow, you can it's almost just like if people didn't know that this was a storyline, you would think that this is real, because he made it look so real.
I mean, suspension of disbelief. It was a great moment. It was the highlight of Raw, honestly. I mean, first of all, Mizdow was a quick match, but I really enjoyed what he was doing in there. He applied the figure four. He does it so much better than Miz. When Miz does the figure four, it's so awkward. Like, that's one thing I'll say. Mizdow is so much better than Miz at his execution of the figure four. And he got the win, the clean win over Fernando with his toy belts. And then, yeah, as you saw, the big storyline shift with Uso coming out and slapping Miz. It looked like not just the Miz, but Michael Mizanin was about to cry. Like, Miz did a great job of selling it. And, like, obviously Mizdow goes up next to him, and he's practically crying with him. Mizdow, like, ever, like, get somebody pregnant, he'll be the kind of dude that has sympathy pains. No doubt about it. Unbelievable. But, like, it was a great shift in the storyline, and it gave the Usos some personality that they were desperately needing, because we've seen them have the run with the tag titles, and we've seen them put on great match after great match, but it's almost as if that element is overexposed. Like, we almost take that for granted. We know they go in there, do their kicks, do their splashes, do their freaking planchas, and it's going to be awesome stuff, but it's just, we've seen them have the titles, they dropped them, but now, yeah, getting back in the title picture, I don't foresee them winning. I foresee, them playing up this storyline with Usos kind of, like, anger, and maybe this, like, maybe they'll get DQ'd or something. I mean, they'll have some kind of funny finish, but I don't see Miz and Mizdow dropping the straps till at least Royal Rumble. I do think they'll survive this challenge from the Usos. But it's going to be just the build-up. When was the last time they had a build-up for a tag team match where it was such a personal build-up? I like it. And as I was mentioning earlier, I really think this can save Trinity's career. She needs it. She's a great talent. She fell back to the pack after the eye injury, when she should have been the one to beat AJ Lee. No disrespect to Paige, because I love that moment. That was one of my favorite moments, 2014, Paige after WrestleMania. But Naomi should have been the one to beat AJ Lee originally. And it was a shame that she never got a chance to do that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Naomi, so I definitely like you said, this was my favorite thing of the night, to tell you the truth. All the matches were just blah, except for the tag team turmoil and obviously this segment. Like, I mean, it's just this whole storyline. Just Raw was just boring, period. And next, Bray Wyatt versus R-Truth. I was actually kind of surprised that we've seen R-Truth. We haven't seen him in a while. He'll just be kind of thrown in randomly every few months. He's kind of like a Zack Ryder. He'll just be thrown in really randomly.
See, that's the thing. Zack Ryder's hurt. Jericho and RVD are on hiatus, so they need some veteran to put guys over. So let's call Ron. He'll do it.
And Bray Wyatt wins, and he climbs and he talks about, like, climbing the ladder, but he's not gonna praise anyone when he does it, and he calls Dean an insect and everything like that, and he just starts repeating back and forth, tables, ladders, chairs, blah, blah, blah. And then Dean comes out, and it was a full-out brawl. And that was pretty much it. Obviously, their match is going to be the match of the night, hopefully, this time, since their first match wasn't amazing. So, yeah.
No. I definitely see it rather stealing the show. And it was decent build-up. I think at this point, we just kind of want to see it. We've seen all the promos back and forth. We've seen Bray Wyatt, talk about Dean Ambrose's family. And obviously, they had talked about this in the Indies with Dean. He had done similar storylines. I think Dean likes doing stuff like that, personally. But honestly, like, I hate to say it, but I think Bray's promos were getting a bit boring lately. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just, like, kind of redundant. But
it sounds like he keeps saying the same thing over and over again.
It's coming off that way. And, I mean, I love Bray Wyatt. I'm not, I think he's still got a chance. And Vince mentioned 4 names that he seems to really like of the current crop, and Bray Wyatt was one of them, and the 3 Shield guys were the other ones. So, I mean, clearly the machine's still behind Bray Wyatt, so that's good. But I'd like to see him maybe change it up a little bit. I don't know, like, something's off. I can't specifically articulate what it is. Like, it is becoming redundant, same old stuff, kind of the same old stuff.
It's almost like he needs more personal stuff to bring up against Dean or something like that. I don't even know, because it was good at first. Like, he was bringing up his dad, and then he was bringing up his mom. And
I almost and almost have Bray kind of be the one who gets fuck with a little bit. Like, have Dean pull up some crazy shit from his
Yeah,
past.
even yeah, because he really hasn't even talked about Bray. So
maybe even bring up Husky Harris and be like, oh, you tried before, you tried to be something you weren't, and look at you, you ended up getting sent back down to developmental, and I've always been me, Dean Ambrose, 100%.
I don't even know if they're allowed to talk about that, though. It would be awesome, but...
So I'd book it.
Bella Twins versus AJ Lee and Naomi, and AJ Lee and Naomi won. And AJ, she does not like working with anyone. She was okay, and even though she got the win, she still acted like she wasn't friends with Naomi, and she just wanted her to stay the hell away from her. Like, they didn't hug each other, they didn't...
Naomi should have got...
just kind of looking at her like weird. I don't know, it's just...
I mean, maybe there's some insecurity coming out, and, like, I wonder if the marriage to Punk, like, some of Punk's social ineptitude, for lack of a better way of saying it, maybe rubbing off on Miss Brooks. Like, I'll always love AJ. I feel like she's a future Hall of Famer, but there's just not much more for her to do, especially since they've really watered her character down. And yeah, we saw this with Emma. We saw this now once again, like tagging with a baby face and just no interaction. And like I said, I think Nikki Bella hit the nail on the head. Talking about how no one wants to be friends with her and everything like that. Really brought up a lot of good points, and it's interesting. And at this point, like I said, I hope the Machine gets behind Naomi. And I'm not saying completely bury AJ Lee. I mean, at this point, I thought we all expected AJ Lee to be gone. Like, I think we were kind of like said our goodbyes in our head, and then she came out on Raw, and it's like, oh, you're still here, like. It's kind of like...
It's like she needs a break or something. Like, don't put her in with something like... it's just... If they, like, with the whole... Like, if they do give it with Naomi and Nikki Bella and everything like that, I'm worried that they're still going to focus on AJ for the Divas. I feel like they're not going to focus on, the feud between, Nikki Bella and Naomi. If that does happen, they're going to focus still on AJ and what she's doing on the roster. If she's, finds a new guy, or if she, whatever she does.
Personally, I'd love to see Trinity get a clean win over AJ and kind of like have that be the #1 contenders match, and then like eventually.
Yeah, I would love that. Actually, that would be perfect.
AJ's final match, like have because you're gonna do the rematch obviously in 2 weeks at DLC, and so maybe on the following Raw she can put over Naomi for #1 contender and then take her a break or hiatus or whatever she's going to be doing. I feel like, just like she did with Paige, I respected how she left the first time because she put over Paige. I do feel like that's what you should do. Vince talked about that actually with The Undertaker, which I thought was some of the most interesting stuff he talked about in his podcast. And, how you got to give back to the business that gives to you. And I think that's what you're talking about with AJ Lee. At this point, she's in position to give back to the business. And maybe just through her body language or actions or whatever, she's not conveying that she is giving back to the business.
She's done everything anyway, so like what would happen if she gets out of the title picture? I mean, she's already had multiple, love angles. She's already, been GM. I mean, it's just like, what else is there to do? I mean,
yeah,
unless she has just a random feud with one of the Divas.
Yeah, you raise an excellent point. And I don't see her winning the title again. I think her days of being Divas champion is over. Like I said, the crowd's not even behind her anymore. Last week when she hit the Des Press, that's supposed to be the hot comeback. That's one of the big things in wrestling. I think that's what really makes Daniel Bryan such a big star. It's because he knows how to rev it up for the hot comeback. It could be as simple as kicks and running around, but his energy is so just infectious. And AJ just doesn't have that right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe she's not into it. I mean, when you're not personally into what you're doing, and we saw this with CM Punk towards the end, your work's not going to look as good if you're not personally invested in it, especially in this line of work.
Yeah, because even when she first started off with the CM Punk on Daniel Bryan thing, I didn't even like her, but I still thought she was entertaining. I thought it was new. I thought it was refreshing. I was just like, I can get into this, and I didn't even like her, and I still thought she was entertaining. And then, even with, then when she did the Dolph Ziggler thing too, I was kind of like, okay, this is new too. Because when she did with the John Cena thing, I was just like, I couldn't stand her then either. And I never really liked her, but it's just like some parts of it I did find entertaining, but it's just like she's just done everything, and it's just driving me nuts. Like, I don't want to see her on TV. As mean as
feel
that
like
sounds.
it's the equivalent of like Triple H back in the mid 2000s, like when he was just like in his reign of terror, and it got to the point of like just nauseum.
Pretty much. And I can get like that for anybody too, you know. It's not just like, even if I loved someone, you know, like Seth sometimes, you know, like that one night, I think he showed up like 5 times on the show, and I was just like, okay, this is getting a little ridiculous. And I love Seth, so I was just, even I was saying that, I was just like, this is a little too much.
It speaks to the lack of depth they have on the roster if they have to use Seth Rollins 5 times on a 3-hour show.
Yeah, it was crazy. Paul Heyman interview. And he talks about, you know, how Brock Lesnar is special, and that's why he only shows up once a year. He kind of, you know, replied back to the John Cena thing. And he said that when he comes back, obviously, Cena is not fresh. Cena's been, you know, wrestling and everything like that, and Brock is. He says Brock's still training hard and everything like that, and, you know, he's fresh and everything, so it's going to be a beating, even worse than when it was at WrestleMania. And he said pretty much, and then he talked about, you know, Cena, if Cena loses, you know, against Seth, he goes, who's going to be the number one contender? Is it going to be Seth? And he says he doesn't forgive Seth, obviously, for curb stomping Brock. And he kind of takes a shot at him. And he talks about, you know, maybe it'll be Sting and everything like that, which I think would be awesome. But, and then he says it doesn't matter who it is, because he says you can send out the whole roster. He says Brock will take them all out.
Interesting that he mentioned Sting there. Oh, very interesting name drop by Paul Heyman. Yeah, I mean, clearly this was WWE's way of trying to PR all the bad heat they've been getting for Brock not being on television for over 3 months since the Night of Champions pay-per-view. It's getting a little ridiculous. If I were Paul, I would have done it similar. I would have almost tapped into the UFC background and been like, look, Brock was the biggest draw in UFC history. And which he was in a very short time too, but all of his fights were the highest buy rates in the history of UFC or MMA period. And be like, look, in UFC, in real fighting, you know, because play out like the realism. I beat the Undertaker, I'm real. I beat up John Cena, I'm real. WWE is fake, but I'm real. You know what I mean? I don't need to show up and you know, whatever, and just be like, look, like in UFC, you defend the title once, twice a year when you're the heavyweight champion or any champion. You know, you headline the pay-per-view, and I think that's what Paul was trying to say, but I don't think it came off how Paul wanted it to. It wasn't my favorite Paul Heyman promo by any stretch of the imagination. The Sting name drop was certainly interesting, but, yeah,
it was real short. It was only like a 5-minute little thing.
Yeah, I would have
played.
played.
It was to probably, you know, let the people know that Brock Lesnar is still there and everything like that. Because people were probably obviously like, where the hell is Brock? We haven't seen him in months and everything like that. And so that was probably, and we haven't seen Paul Heyman too. So that's why probably they was like, oh, Paul Heyman, you know, do a little short interview, you know.
Doing like backstage stuff with the network. He did the ECW thing on the network and like the pre-show thing. He's been doing stuff. But I mean, Paul also owns the other company too, the media company where they do the commercials for the video games and stuff. So it's not like Paul's not busy, and he's a father. So it's not like he's been busy. You know what I wish they had done with Brock? Like, how hard is it to send a camera crew up to Minnesota and like, you know, we could get like a month's worth of vignettes of him like just like chilling, like, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, having the belt, drinking a beer, hanging out with Sable, working out. Like, you know, like, be a heel about it. Like, be like, here's the champion, and I'm sitting here drinking a beer, and fuck you, WWE.
Exactly.
You know, if you're going to do this, like, play it up. Like, they failed to do this. And to me, like, they used to be so good at, like, vignettes. Like, even when, like, DDP was Undertaker's wife stalker, and, like, even, like, the Randy Orton Triple H feud more recent years, you know, they did stuff at people's houses. Like, why couldn't they, like, do it like, I don't know if you're familiar with UFC or boxing, but they have these, like, little countdown shows or 24/7 shows that, like, they'll show the fighter training and they'll do little interviews and hype the fight. And they're very popular. They help boxing and MMA a lot. And TNA's tried to do them here and there with varied measures of success. But I don't really see WWE tapping in and doing that. And I think they're missing the boat here with Lesnar because he's the kind of guy you really can't do it. They did it with The Rock a little bit.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if it was like almost like Brock doesn't want to because it's too personal, or I'm not really
Yeah.
sure. It's stupid though. Because there's been so many memes about it too. I don't know if you've seen the memes where like
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar's sitting on the couch and everything like that, and there's something like oh, I'm just sitting here on my couch or something like that. It was
The one with
funny.
him and was pretty funny. I saw that one.
Yeah. But hopefully we'll see him soon because this is just kind of getting ridiculous. Even like Seth too was like talking about this and saying how sick and tired he is of Brock Lesnar, and I think he was in character when he said this. I'm pretty sure he was. And that's what people say about Seth too. That's why they give him so much hate because he's a completely different person in his interviews. He's like his real self in interviews and on Twitter. And people are like, oh, he should be a heel and everything like that and everything. You know, he should stay in character and everything. And that's just not who Seth is. You know, he's his normal person in interviews. And there was a few interviews recently where it seemed like he was a little bit in character, like the Brock Lesnar thing, how he was just like, oh, this is bullshit. They asked him, you know, what his take was on Brock Lesnar not being there. He's like, I think it's bullshit. He goes, I'm here with my briefcase and I'm trying to catch it. Like that was, I think, in character, obviously, but
I mean, I think there was a little truth behind it. I mean, obviously in character, but certainly, I mean, there's a secret with being a heel with your promos, and that's the key is you got to believe what you're saying, or at least 90% of it, or a good part of what you're saying. Just kind of ramp it up. That's what worked for Ric Flair. It's what worked for a lot of the great heels throughout the years. Is really a Macho Man, believing what you're saying. You know what I mean, or getting in that frame of mind where you're believing. That's where I think Brie Bella failed because I don't think Brie Bella was able to do that. With the exception of maybe Stephanie. But yeah, I mean that's key right there. If you don't have that ability to like at least kind of tap into, and even I'll do that in some promos I've cut on our RCW and stuff. Like you got to kind of tap into how you really feel. And Mick Foley actually is probably the best ever at this. Steve Austin was good at it too, but Mick Foley would take something that happened to him years ago and then use it in a promo. Or I think a lot of talents should go back and watch some of the Mick Foley promos in the 90s, the ECW stuff, even some of the old WCW stuff, and certainly the WWE stuff, and, really the ECW stuff specifically, and how he would just hold on to something and then use it, but it would make things so much more believable. And, Seth's starting to get really good at that. CM Punk was really good at that. Not many, though, have been good at that.
Seth just period with his mic skills have raised tremendously. I remember when he first started, I watched one of his promos at ROH when he was talking when he was a heel, and I was just like, oh my God, Seth, you couldn't even talk in this promo. And I was just I was completely honest. And then I watched some of his recent stuff and I'm just like, oh my God, look at how much better he is than when he was. And I mean, he was still young. I think he was only 21 or something when he got in ROH. He was extremely young. So, I mean, I guess that was just kind of practice and everything with this promo. So,
a lot like Punk as well. And the Hardys, two people he's compared with, or three. He started in the trampoline yard circuit, just like Punk and the Hardys. And it talked about that's how he started doing the flippies and everything like that. And then he was a fan of Ring of Honor, even when it was just on YouTube in the early days, even before Brian was there. And he came into it when they had that dream team, Brian and Nigel McGuinness and Samoa Joe and CM Punk. It was just an embarrassment of talent they had at that point. And AJ Styles was in there. Austin Aries. There's so many good people they had. And but they've never really been strong on promos. They have Truth Martini, who's a good promo cutting manager. Jay Lethal can cut a good promo. Kevin Steen was obviously known for his promos. This is one of the reasons why I fell in love with him. But they've never really put out a lot of great. Even when Jim Cornette was there, who had was a great promo cutter in his day, manager and promo cutter. It just didn't seem like ROH really focused on the development of people's promos. They just focused more on the in-ring, and that's kind of their thing. That's fine. They let the actions speak, code of honor and everything. But with a few exceptions, CM Punk, they had Raven in there at one point, but I don't count him because he was a legend in his own right. They really haven't had a lot of guys just be straight talkers. A lot of guys are kind of all right, figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, have great matches and figure it out. That's why Bryan was colored with that paintbrush of no personality, because no one ever saw personality out of Bryan in ROH. And then,
people say too about his talking that it's not good and everything like that, and I don't think it's not good. I don't think it's obviously one of the top guys right now. I'm not one of the top talkers, because the top talkers for me right now are Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins. Those are my top 3. And the rest right now.
Ziggler should be better than he is. I never understood why Ziggler. I think Damien's a good talker. Miz can talk. Obviously, he gets a little annoying. They have a few of them. But
I love Miz.
Jericho, when he's there too, obviously has to be putting that.
Yep. And not everybody can do both, Everyone's always either a better talker or a better wrestler, you can't. And, there are very few people that are great at both, but.
I mean, some people are just late bloomers. Look at Eddie Guerrero. I mean, here's a guy, if you look just on his WWE stuff, you'd think he's the most charismatic guy in the world. Like Latino Heat and all the stuff he did, the emotion that he evoked out of people. But in WCW and ECW and Japan and Mexico, he was just strictly a worker guy, and he did some stuff in WCW with Chavo towards the end where he was starting to show his personality and kind of bully Chavo a little bit. But other than that, you never really saw personality out of Eddie G until you got to the WWE. And, at that point, they did a good job of kind of tapping into that, and he found himself. And he never saw himself as kind of entertaining. And maybe that's the thing with Seth. Maybe he didn't see himself as a talker, and he's gained confidence throughout the years. And I would draw a comparison to Guerrero in that regard, where Guerrero was not known as a good promo cutter, and then at the end, he was a very good promo cutter. Almost the opposite, Rob Van Dam, where in ECW, Van Dam cut an awesome promo because he didn't have any shackles on him, and he could say swears, have pop references, and do whatever he wants. But in WWE, he's very tame on the mic and able to really show what he's truly capable of.
Definitely. And I'm a huge fan of Eddie, He was one of my favorites. But, yeah, like I said, there's just some people are just not good at everything. Just like the main event thing, too. You know how we always say that not everybody can be in the main event. Not everybody can be WWE champion.
This is true. This is a true statement right there.
Last segment, or match or whatever, was the main event match, and it was just stupid anyways. John Cena, Dolph Ziggler, Ryback versus Seth Kane and Luke Harper. And John Cena, Ziggler, and Ryback win, with Ziggler getting the win on Luke Harper, too. And it was just like, I kind of almost like didn't feel like Ziggler was going to be, I felt like his push was done. I was just like, I feel like he's going to be a mid-carder for life now. And ever since Survivor Series, I feel like they're pushing him now. I feel like they chose him to be the guy, and I feel like they're having more faith in him now. And he's in main events now, and he's winning the main events too. And it's just like, maybe, I mean, I'm not saying like anytime, maybe soon. Maybe I feel like maybe he can be another Money in the Bank winner. Maybe he can win it again in the next 2 years and maybe cash it in. But I don't know, because there's so many younger talents. And they still have John Cena, they still have Randy Orton, they got Brock Lesnar, they got, all these guys, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, and now Seth, and then Dean. So I am not giving up hope with Dolph Ziggler being champion again. I do think he's going to probably need the briefcase for it. But since they've been, making him win all these main event matches, I feel like there's hope, and I feel like they have faith in him still. What do you think, Joe?
It's an interesting question. I think I had posed a question to you or somebody, I think it was last week when we did the Raw review. Who is this year's Daniel Bryan? Who is the guy that's really gaining momentum, who's got the yes movement like last year? And, people could say a bunch of names. I wouldn't really count Seth because Seth's the heel. I'm looking at it from the baby face.
Like I said, I think it's Daniel Sano.
Yeah.
I really do.
But they're obviously not stand out winning the heavyweight championship. At least, not anymore. So Could Ziggler be a surprise winner of the Royal Rumble, and maybe he could be the guy to beat Brock Lesnar?
He actually, I mean, with his 2 million Twitter followers, I didn't even know he had that many. When he said that, I had to look it up. I was just like, there's no way he has 2 million. And I looked it up and he does. He has like 2.2 million. I was like, oh my
Zack
God.
Ryder's got like almost 2 million, I think.
Yeah, I was just like, wow. And I mean, he's a baby face, so that's also good too. And he's obviously one of the best sellers of the WWE. He sells moves the best.
I mean, a match with him and Brock would be outstanding when you think about it on paper. They're both former collegiate wrestlers. Dolph Ziggler set records at Kent State. We all know about Brock Lesnar's background by now. And, I mean, that to me, like why not Ziggler? Roman Reigns, he'll get it eventually. And, like, if Ziggler wins, perfect guy for Seth to cash in on. Perfect guy. And if they do the WrestleMania thing, that makes even more sense because I have a thought that they wouldn't want to they would feel like that would hurt Roman to win and then get cashed in like Daniel Bryan got a few years ago. I feel like that's the take on that.
And that's why I'm thinking if they do it, Seth's going to have to cash in right when probably Brock comes back. I mean, or right like Royal Rumble or something like that, because they said like they want him to only have it if they are really going to do that and not have him cash in on Roman and have him cash in on Brock instead, and then have Brock win it back like a month later or something like that, and then have Brock versus Roman, which is stupid in my opinion, but
he's got till July to, he's in no rush. There's no reason to rush it, and like there's no reason to, like, look at Edge. Edge had that great cash, and we were debating on this a few weeks ago.
Like 11 and a half months, I think it was.
11 and a half months, Edge had the briefcase, cast it in New Year's resolutions, and then lost it 3 weeks later at the Royal Rumble because they didn't want to get behind Edge. They wanted to stick to the original plan of Cena versus, I think, Triple H or whatever the original plan was. Yeah. So, I almost feel like it'd be better for Seth to cash in at Mania because no one's ever done it. And even if Seth only holds on to it for a month, at least do it at Mania because you'd have the moment.
Exactly.
Like Daniel Bryan have a long run, but always have that Mania moment.
And he's healed too, so I know his reign isn't going to be like long or anything like that. I would hope, I would want it to be at least 3 months, but if it's only like 1.5, 2 months, I can live with it, because it's not like this is going to be the only time he has the title, obviously, especially if Vince likes him as much as he said he did on his podcast. So,
what I would do, I'd have Ziggler beat Lesnar clean, Lesnar go on a tirade, F5 him, Seth cash in, and then have Dolph chase for 3 months. Have a storyline where Dolph chases and gets close for 3 months. And then July, Money in the Bank again. I know people had speculated on Dean, but I actually feel like that would fit Roman better than Dean. Just his style, the quick hitting. He could go out there, boom, hit a quick Superman punch, hit a quick spear, and cash in. Where, like, I think it would have that impact of, like, oh, shit! Like, and they haven't had a babyface cash in since, I think, Ziggler. And even Ziggler was technically a heel when he cashed in. So I think that would be interesting. And Ziggler, to me, is not going to be a long-term champion if he's ever going to be champion. But it would be nice to have the WWE title on his resume. I mean, he held the world title for 20 minutes once. Might as well friggin' hold the WWE title for a few minutes so he could replace Jeff Hardy as the, shortest reign in WWE history.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I said, Raw was kind of blah.
Slammy's next week. I expect a turnaround. Seth Green is hosting, who is an avid wrestling fan, has been on in the past, and I found him entertaining the last time he was on, so I think it'll be better next week. I hope. I'm a hopeful guy, and it's the go-home show already to TLC, so should be better next week. One can only hope.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, and don't forget to join our Facebook group. And I will see you in the next one.